So this is starting day 2 of my art teacher blog that we're calling Art Teacher Says What? So today I wanted to talk about, I guess, where we're headed with this empty bowls thing, but also first, I also wanted to talk about the fact that we had some visitors yesterday, some unwelcome visitors. So I'll get to that in a bit after I give you a little heads up about where we're at with the empty bowls. So let's talk about that first, and then we'll talk about the story with the protesters. All right, here we go. So where we left off yesterday, we have some blank bowls that came out of the kiln, and I loaded up what was left in the kiln. These are some bowls by some slowpoke kids. You know, I teased that they're slowpokes, but like they were doing some fancy stuff, so theirs took a little longer. Also, some were absent and or on field trips. But the kiln is loaded again with all the rest of the bowls. Can you see in there? Yeah. There's multiple levels of bowls, and it candled all night, which means that the bottom section was on low, the rest was off, just to get out the rest of the moisture. Also, those bowls are on top in order to get out the rest of the moisture for those so they can go in the next firing. I've turned it up to low on all 3 sections, and then in 2 or 3 hours we will go to medium, and then in 3 more hours we'll go to high, and it'll kick off about 5 o'clock tonight. So today we're going to work on glazing. This is my recycling system, which isn't working. This trash can is way too big, and so therefore recycling is always put off because there's way too much. It's too big of a job. So once I empty this out, which will be another blog post for another day, I'm going to get a smaller bucket, and we're not going to work out of a trash can. This is the tool table. It looks like a disaster, but this is where the kids come to get all the tools and the slip and the pedestals they need for sculpting. And I'm working on setting up my glaze presentation here on this table. And then they can just, the kids that work at these tables will just have to move and sit with everybody else at these other tables. So, sorry, I had someone knock at the door. Okay, so this is my glaze setup, and I have made these test tiles for each one so that the kids can get an idea of what the colors will look like, because as you can see, they're pretty true to color. If you know anything about pottery, a lot of times the glaze looks nothing like the color that will come out after it's fired. Brown looks like bright blue, or blue turns to orange and stuff like that. It's crazy. So, but these are pretty true to color, other than they get a lot shinier and a lot brighter. But this visual definitely helps reiterate that, so I don't have to explain that a million times. And then I've got a couple of samples of bowls from past years to help them. And I had a couple of kids come in during art club that aren't in my class and go ahead and start glazing, so I can show these as examples of what they should look like painted and what they will look like after they're fired. And then there's a blank bowl that I can sort of use as my discussion demonstration. So yeah, there we go with the glaze. Also, my room looks super trashy because of all these used grocery bags, but in each one of these is a project. So we're trying to remind students that even though it looks like trash, it's not, and don't bump up against it, or, you know, lay your book bag on it, because that's not trash, that's someone's precious project. And what the projects are is, the assignment was to make a vessel, a watertight vessel, using the coil technique. So here's a couple that have already been finished and are drying out. So as you see, they were instructed to smooth either the outside or the inside so that they will not separate as they dry, but we've got lots of decorative embellishments, and this person even did a lid with a rim, so those are going to be super awesome. And that's what is in all of these little baggies stored around the room. So I've tried to sort of separate them. This would be my advanced group, 4th period. And then this is my intermediate group here, which is 2nd and 7th period. These on the floor are actually full of clay, recycled clay. I work in controlled chaos. It looks like trash in here, but it's actually functional. And then over here we have, these are extra bags, and then this is my 2 beginning groups. That's 6th, and this is 3rd. And then I got a couple of the guidance counselors making their own little projects on the side, because, you know, why not? All right, so there we go. So now on to the drama. Last week, when Meg Bernard was here throwing pots, I think it was Wednesday of last week, we had some protesters show up. And this is abnormal for a lot of school campuses because most school campuses are on a large expanse of land, and it's a sprawling multi-building system. Ours is not like that. Our building is a very old, beautiful piece of architecture that's 3 floors tall with brick facade. Keep getting people knocking on my door. Okay, back to the story. So, our building's beautiful, you know, like classic columns and brick architecture, and we are downtown in a city. It's not a big city. Like think like quaint, touristy southern mountain city with a nice main street to meander down on a weekend with coffee shops and ice cream parlors and that sort of thing. That's where we live. This school's demographics is very diverse, and I love it, and everybody gets along, and we're a small school. We have only like 800 students. But again, we're right downtown. We're within one city block with like houses and businesses all around us, and the block that we're on is lined with sidewalks, and there's a main thoroughfare at the back of our campus that runs along the football field. So on Wednesday of last week, right as the bell was about to ring at 3 o'clock to dismiss the students, my friend Meg, who was here throwing the bowls for empty bowls, she said, hey, there are some people standing out there on the sidewalk, because she could see from the window. There's some people out on the sidewalk with signs. Is that normal? And I was like, no. And I went and looked, and it was these pro-life demonstrators with signs. And I didn't see up close, but I found out later that the signs had really awful imagery of like fetus parts and stuff, you can imagine. And that's really disturbing. Like, I don't care who you are or what your opinion is, to come to a high school where we have 14 to 18-year-old children and that can't even get into an R-rated movie, and show them imagery like that, and name call and strike fear in these children with really disturbing tactics is not the right way to go about changing someone's opinion. And it really got the kids worked up. And so I saw that they were there, and all the kids were leaving campus, and they stand out there and they wait for the bus, or they wait for their parents to pick them up, or they walk home. It's just the community we're in. That's how it happens. We have only a few buses that come by. Most walk home, or some drive. We parallel park along the street. That's the student parking, is parallel parking along the street. We don't even have like a student parking lot. Or their parents come and pick them up. So lots of kids standing around seeing this. I ran and told an administrator, and they ran out there, and I hear as they're radioing that one of the other administrators tells them they need to be across the street. They can't be here, which is obvious, right? Like, we tell our own students, you can't cross the street or you're technically leaving campus. You will be in trouble. So therefore, this side of the street is our campus. But, you know, I kept standing at my window watching, and the police are there, and the administration is there, and they're talking to them, and the students are there, and the students are upset, and I mean, some are listening to them intently and hearing what they have to say, but others are really disturbed by what they're seeing, and rightfully so. And come to find out, they were calling people names and telling them that they were going to go to hell, and that they were equivalent to Nazis, and that they were murderers and whatever. And you're talking to children. But unfortunately, they never crossed the street, and come to find out, legally, they knew their rights. They came equipped knowing their legal rights, that the sidewalk along our campus against the road is public property, and as long as they stayed on the sidewalk, they were free to express their opinions and show their signs. And they had body cameras on. And I thought that was really disturbing, because they're standing there, you know, chest to chest, face to face with our students, and they're videoing our students. And the police, our SRO, our student resource officer, said that that was their way of documenting if they were forced to cross the street physically, because they could then sue our school. We didn't call the news, and for good reason, because that's what they were after, right? They want as much attention as possible. But you know, it got the kids worked up, and that was a lot of learning moment conversation that I had to have with kids the next day in class. And it's tricky, because that verges on politics, which, you know, we're definitely not supposed to express our opinions about things. And I try really hard to stay neutral on things, but it's definitely not right. I don't care who you are or what your opinion is, to, in this day and age, especially with our security concerns in public high schools and public schools in general, with all the mass shootings that have happened and the school shootings, to intrude on our space like that. So it was really disturbing, and it was gross and nauseating, and I hated it. And the kids did too. Like, they are on edge. They are nervous on a regular basis because of all the current events, and this doesn't help. So, you know, I thought, well, are they gonna go to the other high schools? And I discussed this with other people, but no, like, the other four high schools in our county are all on large campuses where, you know, there's some of them even have gated entrances, so you can't get anywhere near, but then they have acres of fields and play fields and ball fields and student parking and faculty parking that shields their building and their common areas where students gather from such things. The people can't be in a public area and be anywhere close to the actual students, but we're at a disadvantage here from that, and we're under construction, and it's not going to get any better. So, you know, the next day they didn't come back. We had a huge police presence on campus afterwards, but they didn't come back. But then they came back yesterday, a week later, on a Wednesday again. They were here again. It was just one guy this time. And we, as faculty and the SRO and the administrators, tried to just encourage the kids to ignore them, because that's what they want. They want attention. They want confrontation. And some students just couldn't they did not ignore them. They got in their face again, and it was ugly, but I don't know. I don't know if this is going to continue. I don't know. Are they going to be back on Wednesday of next week? I don't know. So that's what's happening right now at our school. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say last week, so my friend Meg, she's like, she went out there and she just asked him, like, because she leaves at 3, because I stay for a full other hour because I'm supervising children after school or whatever, but you know, her job was done at 3 to make the bowls and be here for a week. So she walked out when the kids walked out, and she walked by one of them. It's just like, can I ask what organization you're with? Just curious. And the lady said, well, I'm with Jesus, and so are you, whether you know it or not. And Meg says, I'm Jewish, which she is, which was funny. Just funny little anecdote for the end of my story. And I don't really know how to wrap that up other than, you know, public school teaching these days is complicated. But I love it. I love it so much. And I hope you will love my daily stories, because art teacher says, what? Please subscribe and like, and let me know if you enjoy this in the comments. I would really appreciate your feedback. And spread the word, help me, because it's a new channel starting at 0 subscribers. If you like my other channel and you know people that are art teachers or just like art and just want to hear a good story, let them know about this channel, please. All right, thanks, bye.